Greetings, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. Today marks 25 days since I began my journey with Kemetic Qi Gong, while simultaneously studying the profound wisdom of the Tjef Sema Paut Neteru, Kemetic Yoga. What began as a curiosity has really blossomed into a transformative practice that really is reshaping my understanding of myself as a living temple. Now, when I first encountered the works of, I do apologize for the pronunciation, Schwaller de Lubicz, particularly in his book, The Temple in Man, I felt like I was deciphering two languages simultaneously, from the mathematical formulas and the architectural terms. Really had me rereading passages multiple times. Yet beneath the complexity, I discovered something profoundly familiar, as if I was entering wisdom my soul had always known. So let me share a story that captures this experience. It's about Maya. Maya stood at the entrance of the wellness center, hesitating before stepping inside, and the sign above read, Temple of Self, Holistic Healing Through Ancient Wisdom. She had been referred by her doctor after months of chronic stress and unexplained fatigue that conventional medicine really couldn't address. Your feet are the foundation of everything, said Imani, the center's director, as she welcomed Maya at the entrance. In ancient Kemet, what we now call Egypt, the entrance to the temple of Luxor represented the feet. Just as you begin your physical journey by stepping forward, you also begin your spiritual journey in the same way. So Imani grabbed Maya arm, gave her a small card with an illustration showing the Temple of Luxor overlaid a human figure. Squalor spent 15 years studying the temple and discovered what the ancient Egyptians had encoded in the stone. That the temple was designed as a perfect map of the human body, both physically and energetically. What? Is that not like profoundly interesting? This connection between temple architecture and human anatomy was one of the clearest aspects of Squalor's work for me. While his mathematical proportions were challenging to visualize, the body's temple correspondence made intuitive sense, especially given my background in understanding some Kemetic symbolism. What research has revealed is remarkable. These aren't simple exercises or a simple system. These are archaeological evidence from temple carvings that show that ancient Egyptians practiced really sophisticated energy cultivation techniques thousands of years before similar systems were documented in Asia. The Temple of Luxor itself stands as a physical evidence. Oh my goodness. Thank you for those pieces of work. Designed as a perfect map of the human body, with each chamber and passage corresponding with our internal organs and energy systems. Hold on, let me do a little check. Liver, are you doing okay? Okay, good. Heart, are you opening up? Ah, you're open. Okay, great. Let's continue. So let me share a little bit about my daily practice. It begins about 4 a.m. with Kemetic Qigong movements. As Imhotep, the great physician, architect, and the highest priest to Ra, taught us that these postures aren't merely physical exercises, but energetic technologies that activate the healing within. One of the greatest challenges has been practicing, at least for me, 600 breaths in the same rotation. I have to keep reminding myself this is a build-up practice. Slow down, take your time. You have a lifetime to work on it. The ancient Egyptians understood something modern science is now confirming. Controlling breathing directly impacts the automatic nervous system. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Bodywork and Movement Therapies found that sustained practice of Qigong resulted in somatic transformation. with measurable improvements in physical form and immune response. My aura ring reflects this transformation. My readiness score consistently measures between strong and exceptional. I'm averaging 10,000 steps daily. Though my sleep still hovers around 7 hours, I'm still working on that. My body is finding a natural rhythm, settling down about 7 to 8 p.m. The physical sensations have been intense at times. My internal organs have experienced soreness as energy pathways are reopening. Let me do a quick check. Right kidney? Oh, we're good. Left kidney? I'm glad I'm checking in. Research from the National Center of Complementary Integrative Health confirms that Qigong practices can significantly reduce pain and stiffness while improving our physical function, something I am really experiencing firsthand. So let me continue the story that I shared earlier. In their first session, there was a place. It was a large, airy room with tall columns reminiscent of ancient Egyptian architecture. The space represents the hypostalical hall of the temple, Imani explained. In the original temple, this area corresponded with the lungs and the respiratory system. Maya looked around at these beautiful columns, breathing in and taking a breath. Like the rib cage protecting the lungs, she said. Exactly. Imani replied with a smile. The ancient Egyptians understood that breath is the bridge between body and spirit. Today, we're going to focus on breathing techniques that we practiced thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So, for the next hour, Maya learned how to control her breath in ways she never had before. Ah, sounds like my experience. Alternate nostril breathing, changing rhythm, changing depth, visualizing energy moving through your body with each inhalation, around your body, down and up with each exhalation. What you are experiencing now, Imani said to Maya, felt a sense of calm just washing over her, is what the ancient Egyptians encoded in the temple design. The columns aren't just supporting the ceiling, but they're teaching us about how our own internal structures support our life force. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because the ancient Egyptians didn't separate physical from mental. The concept of Ka, the vital essence, really parallels with the Chinese understanding of Qi. Both traditions recognize that energy cultivation isn't just physical, but deeply mental, deeply spiritual. Even modern science validates this ancient wisdom. A comprehensive review published in the American Journal of Health Promotion analyzed 77 articles and even found consistent evidence that Qigong practices reduce things like anxiety and depression while, enhancing cognitive function. We all need some of that. My own mental journey has guided me to a profound question. Can you have mental balance without physical balance? Hmm. The research is clear. You cannot. A 2024 study published in the Advanced Mind Body Science demonstrated that physical movements of Qigong directly impact our brainwave patterns, creating measurable improvements in mental clarity. And what else? Emotional regulation. Yay! I'd like to share with you a quote from that I am particularly moved by from The Wisdom of the Kemetic Diet by Dr. Muata Ashby. Watching your emotions, controlling them, and not allowing them to go to extremes in a form of fasting for the feeling aspect of the mind, the heart. You will notice that when you are tense and upset, your body assumes constricted poses and breathing becomes shallow. When this happens, you need to start taking control by practicing the proper and deep breathing techniques. From now on, you must try to take notice of when you notice mood swings. Spiritual energy is dissipated through indiscriminate, indulgent in emotional behavior. Thank you, Kemetic Diet. What's my personal reflection? This teaching has profoundly changed how I approach emotional fluctuations. Just last week, I kind of found myself a little frustrated during a challenging relationship situation, kind of with a neighbor. Immediately, I noticed my breathing had become shallow and my shoulders were tense. Instead of just allowing this energy to dissipate through the emotional reactivity, I paused. I started to practice my alternate nostril breathing for 2 minutes and felt a remarkable shift. The emotional fasting described in the Kemetic tradition isn't about suppressing emotions, but rather about channeling that energy constructively. I found that this practice alone has preserved vital energy that would otherwise have been lost in emotional turbulence. My morning routine is becoming a moving meditation. Qigong, walking, Kemetic yoga, swimming, meal preparation, all accompanied by high vibrational music and chants and affirmations. This integration has created a foundation of mental clarity that carries throughout my workday. That is a win, 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 win for everything within me and externally. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of my journey has been sun gazing. And as a child, I was told you should never look into the sun. Yet I discovered this ancient practice to be profoundly transformative. I've witnessed shapes and colors and noticed decreased blurriness throughout my day and with my eyes. Sun gazing is rising with the sun and gazing at the sun within the first 20, 40 minutes as it rises from the horizon. You know, the ancient Egyptians understood the sun not merely as a physical entity, but as Ra, the divine source of all life energy. Their temples were precisely aligned with solar events, creating a cosmetic connection between heaven and earth. Even in the book, The Sacred Science by Schwaller describes how he calls the royal principle, the understanding that humans contain within themselves the entire cosmos. This isn't poetic as a metaphor, but a functional reality. When I practice in my sacred space each morning, I'm not just moving my body, I'm aligning with cosmetic rhythms that have flowed since the beginning of time. This understanding is beautifully captured in a poem that I've been contemplating. Here's the first part. In temples carved from time's embrace, where silence guards the sacred space, the pharaonic mind, not Greek, perceives what modern thought no longer sees. Not Athens halls, but Kemetic shores birth wisdom's flame forevermore, where symbols live, not merely stand, but sacred science guides the hand. Ankode's life, the Jed, stands tall, while scepter pauses through it all. Not metaphors, but forces true that bridge the worlds, the one and two. The royal principle in cosmo flows through kingdoms high and kingdoms low. The serpent rises, crowned in light, consciousness ascending to its height. We'll continue with that poem a little later. So, what makes both Kemetic Qigong and Kemetic Yoga so powerful is their holistic integration with the body, mind, and spirit. Unlike modern approaches that fragment human experiences, these ancient practices recognize that we are really unified beings. The Temple of Luxor teaches us that wisdom, through its very architecture, The entrance corresponds to the feet, the foundation and connection to earth. The hypostatical hall represents the lungs and the respiratory system, our breath as the bridge between the worlds. Various chambers member our internal organs, each with its own intelligence and purpose. The sanctuary even aligns with the head and the brain, where human consciousness meets divine awareness. And as I move through my practice each day, I'm literally walking through this temple, not as a metaphor, but as a lived experience. When I feel the ground beneath my feet, I connect with the earth's energy. When I breathe deeply, I feel the columns of my inner temple just expanding. When I access my intuition, I'm entering the sanctuary of higher consciousness. So let's continue with the story. Their weeks had passed for Maya, many sessions, and she had noticed that her sessions were moving deeper into the center, each room designed to correspond with different organs and energy centers in the body. In the Temple of Luxor, Imani explained during, let's say, her fourth session, various chambers and passage correspond to internal organs and energy systems. The ancient Egyptians didn't separate anatomy from energy. They understood that physical structures and life force were interconnected. They worked with the sounds that resonated with specific organs, movement that activated energy pathways, and visualization techniques that connected Maya's consciousness to different parts of her body. I never thought about my liver as having a consciousness of its own, Maya remarked after a particularly powerful session focused on detoxification. The Egyptians saw each organ as having its own intelligence, Imani replied. Schwaller discovered that the proportions and positions of the temple chambers weren't random. They were precisely mapped, really, the human organs and their relationship to each other. So, like the lungs and the heart? Oh, there's a connection. This concept of organ intelligence was one of the most challenging aspects of Scholar's work for me, especially when he delved into those mathematical relationships. The numerical ratios went just bloop over my head, but the underlying principle that our bodies contain wisdom beyond our conscious awareness aligned with what I really understood about Kemetic philosophy. Then there is the healing. The healing that I have experienced in the 25 days has been remarkable. And it's not just one day that I feel like I don't want to get up. Every day I'm excited to get up and to engage in my practice. My spirit is awaking naturally. Alternate nostril breathing has created a profound sense of balance physically and mentally. The connection with my eye and the Egyptian principle of balance, harmony, order is just palpable. Research published in the journal Medicines confirms that regular Qigong practice creates a growing body of evidence validating its own health benefits, including enhanced immune function, improved cardiovascular health, and better stress management. But beyond the physical benefits, I'm experiencing a spiritual awakening, a remembering of ancient wisdom encoded in my very DNA. As Scholar wrote, the temple wasn't just a building, it was a three-dimensional textbook of human anatomy, energy, and consciousness. The final part of the story resonates deeply within my experience. So, during her final session, Maya had reached the innermost room of the center, quiet, dimly lit sanctuary with high ceilings painted with stars. We've reached the sanctuary, Imani said softly in the Temple of Luxor. This space aligns with Maya, where head and Maya's brain. It's where human consciousness meets divine awareness. So Maya sat in meditation, feeling a new sense of connection between her physical body and something larger than herself. The ancient Egyptians didn't see the brain as just an organ for thinking, Imani explained afterwards. They understood it was a meeting point between individual consciousness and universal wisdom. Scholar added that this pharaonic consciousness, a way of knowing that integrates rather than separates, this concept of integrated consciousness was simultaneously the probably another difficult thing, but most familiar part of scholars' work for me. The terminology was foreign, but the underlying principle really deeply resonated with what I already knew about Kemetic spiritual practices. So, what's the path forward? As I continue this year-long journey, I invite you to join me in rediscovering the wisdom of our ancestors, whether you practice Kemetic Qi Gong, Kemetic Yoga, or simply want to follow along with my experiences, remembering that you too are a living temple designed with the same intelligence and purpose as the most sacred buildings in ancient Kemet, Egypt. The ancients knew that the divine wasn't somewhere out there, that it was encoded in our very own structure. We just need to learn how to read ourselves. Let me finish the last part of that poem. Our fractured minds now speak to know what ancient wisdom long ago perceived as one unbroken whole, the royal path that heals the soul. The serpent meets its tail in endless round, as what was lost is once more found. Not just to know, but truly to become the royal way, where all is one. Thank you. In the words of the ancient Egyptian proverb, know thyself. Thank you for walking this path with me. Until next time, may your inner temple be filled with light and harmony. Much gratitude, much appreciation to Dr. Love, who is doing the Kemetic Qigong Yoga, and to my guides, Dr. Muata Ashby and Dr. Karen Ashby. Thank you. And what we say is Ankh Uja Seneb, with that means life, vitality, and health. Thank you for listening.